You've been putting in the work. You're calmer in the chaos, less reactive, more present. You've changed your tone or your habits, maybe even your mindset. But here's the gut punch. You walk into the room and she still looks at you like the same man who hurt her. It's like she can't feel anything different. And that's frustrating as hell, especially when you know deep down you're not the same guy anymore. But here's what most men don't realize. When a woman loses trust, it's not just her opinion of you that shifts, it's her entire experience of you. It's like a foggy filter gets placed over everything. You say something kind, she hears manipulation. You give her space, she feels abandonment. It's not that she doesn't want to believe in you again, it's that her system won't let her yet. That's exactly what we help men fix inside the Heroic Husband. Whether through our book or a free clarity session call, we'll help you rebuild trust in a way she can actually feel. You'll find both of those down below. If you're ready for structure, not guesswork. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how to break through the invisible filter she's stuck behind. Because when trust is broken, words won't fix it. Only consistent, grounded action can cut through the fog. Let's dive in. All right, guys, so we're going to dive right in, okay? You're changing, so why does she still not trust you? This is extremely important. Like, most guys feel like they want to drive their head through a wall when it comes to this stuff. And I know I did. And I'm going to expand this real quick. It's frustrating. I get it. But I'm going to show you exactly why this happens. And I'm going to show you how to do it quickly. So let's just get into it. Okay, so you've been putting in the work, and now she came to you with problems from the past. Whether it was the whole I love you, but I'm not in love with you, I don't feel the same, or I might be seeing someone else. You might have thought she wanted you to do one thing, do more things, like around the house, or just show up some more. But really, that's all just very surface level. Actually, that's like below basic needs when it comes to all of this. If you really look at it, you'll look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's at the physiological level at the bottom. And if you really, really think about it, she could always hire someone to do that. She can always have someone else, like your kids or anybody else, do all of those basic needs, okay? I get a lot of men that go, oh, Noah, but I'm showing up more, but I'm doing more chores. It has nothing to do with it, right? Women need more of that emotional connection. And you can work as hard as you want, provide as much as you want, but if you don't connect with her emotionally, you're not feeding her soul, okay? So now what's really going on inside is as things are going, right, she's losing trust. As things are going, it's the small things that lose trust. You promised something, you would show up. She had an expectation and a hope that you would do something to reestablish that trust or maintain that trust with her. But then it breaks. And then she starts to feel extremely unsafe because for women, their deepest need is safety and security. And that is what builds up their love. That is what builds up that connection that she has with you that makes her feel like you two are going to be together forever. And she knows deep down in her soul, things are never going to change. That you will always be there for her and she can always count on you. And when that happens, she's actually able to surrender her feminine into your masculine. So her opinions of you shift when she loses trust. You might start to do things, but she doesn't trust them. Okay? She's skeptical, especially as you're going through this process, especially as you start to actually attack, especially as you start to implement things and plans. You will be losing her trust if you just keep moving forward and you don't understand what's actually going on. You don't understand what she's really saying, and you just look at the symptoms to the problem. You don't look at the overall problem. Okay? So when she doesn't trust that you're doing things, you become more reactive instead of responsive and proactive. And reactive is when an event happens, an emotional event happens, and then you react to that event. You do a thing in accordance to that event. Now, that is the wrong protocol. That is the wrong setup. That is the wrong process, because as a man, women understand that when it comes to the feminine, she's an emotional creature. She goes back and forth, up and down, left and right. I call it the ocean. The feminine nature is like an ocean and a thundercloud, but we'll get to that. The ocean is calm, cool, collected, beautiful, 1 second, then chaotic and stormy, another. So you need to be grounded as the captain on your ship, and you don't get upset. You don't start to be reactive, right? You start to be responsive to the ocean and proactive to the ocean, and you fall in love with that process. Okay, but most men become reactive, they get emotional, they get frustrated. They aren't solid in their masculinity because the feminine looks towards the masculine as that grounding energy source, as that source that needs to diffuse her. Because she's going to say everything and anything. She's going to tell you all of the things that she doesn't trust about you. She's going to try to put you down, character name you. She's going to try to do whatever, especially if she doesn't trust you. She's going to literally say, like, if you do something nice, she's going to say that's manipulative. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? She's going to question you. She's going to push back. But that's because that trust isn't there. That's because you aren't responding correctly, not being proactive. Then it creates a vicious cycle that continues, which I call the invisible filter. So what I mean by the invisible filter? Well, as you see here, when trust breaks, something invisible happens inside of her. Most men think, if I just change, she'll notice. But here's the truth. When she's been hurt, whether it's emotional neglect, broken promises, or patterns that made her feel unsafe, her brain rewires how it sees you. It's like putting on a dark sunglasses in a dimly lit room. Even if you flip on the lights, it still looks dark to her. She's not being difficult. Her nervous system is doing its job to protect her. Okay? That's because broken trust means a lack of safety and security. As I just said, when it comes to women, as you see here on my screen, safety and security is everything. In the military, it becomes as clear as mud, right? Meaning like you can clearly see through mud, right? You can't. So her emotions are all over the place unless you ground her energy. Well, because, then if she doesn't feel grounded by you, and if she isn't grounded by you, she's not allowed to express herself genuinely in her feminine. And that's exactly what you need so that she can process these emotions and then move forward, right? While she's being led by you. When most men get frustrated, it just makes things worse. She can't trust your words. Your word as a man is the most powerful thing you have because that's all men have. That's how we build legacy. That's how we add value to the world. Our word is backed by our action. The most successful men take action in life. That's the difference between Elon, Jeff Bezos. That's the difference between just think of guys that go into construction, build up boring businesses. They do the metal work. They do the sheet work. They go, they build the business. They go, they crush it and become that top level CEO. They become the star killer in their team. They become the most successful salesperson. Does not matter. That's what separates 90% of people who just stay dreamers. And women hate men who aren't on their purpose. You see, it's kind of funny because men process things chronologically, right? That happened. I apologized. I changed. But women tend to process things through their emotional memory, right? That means she's not just remembering what happened, she's reliving how it feels. She's going through it over and over and over. It's kind of like Bill Murray's Groundhog Day. I always tell my clients this. It's kind of like Bill Murray's Groundhog Day, where she's just reprocessing all of the emotions. And she's feeling that pain and that hurt. Whereas we will just go, toot, 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 this happened, and this happened, and this happened, this sucked, but this happened. That's not how women process it. So while you're focused on what's different now, she's still emotionally stuck in what hurt her back then. Okay, her brain is scanning for proof that this new version of you is real, but through a filter that says, be careful, don't get hurt again. Because when women are protecting their feminine, it is so that they don't hurt their souls anymore. When the feminine gets damaged, it literally damages who she is, because that type of negative energy, that type of negative emotion, women cannot handle. It is physically damaging to them, to their skin, to their face. You can tell a woman who's had a hard life versus a woman who isn't. So when she gets like this, she's going into an amygdala response because she's in fight or flight. That's why logically explaining things and logical explanation and even like good behavior don't always land right. Her system isn't listening for what makes sense. It's watching for what feels safe and familiar. And honestly, that's how you create rapport: familiarity, relevancy, and safety. And right now, the safest thing for her might be distance, but that doesn't mean all of it is lost. It just means that the trust filter has been reset emotionally, not logically, right? And I'll show you what to do next. But you also have to remember, when she can't trust, she filters through a negative lens, right? The deeper aspect is when she's filtering this through you and she's telling you what's going on, it's really important to remember to not take things personally, right? Remember, she's in an emotional state, but more of it, I'm just telling you that so you can process it logically, because when she's misinterpreting what you're doing, what she's actually doing is she's judging herself through your actions, because she's saying, if I was in your shoes, this is what I would do because of it. And that's just because she's genuinely expressing who she is. So anytime she gives you that pushback or anything like that, I always tell my clients, that's fucking gold, right? Because she is telling you what's actually going on in her mind. And you can connect with her deeply because of that. So the biggest mistake, men, right? So, and here's what a lot of good, smart, successful, well-meaning men end up making these things worse without realizing it. When she's emotionally shut down, most guys respond by trying harder to convince her they've changed, right? Listen to that, to convince her. They over-explain, over-apologize. They get stuck in long text messages, love letters, or one last talk attempts. But here's the kicker. When trust is low, even the most loving words can sound like manipulation. She's not rejecting you. She's rejecting the pressure. Now, I want you to kind of focus on how I put all that. You're trying to convince her. One last talk. Stuck with long text messages. That is all coming, right, from a place where you're losing your masculine edge and your grounding ability. Okay, over apologizing brings you into a weak frame, right? You know, you overuse words, which just make it seem kind of forced, like you're just trying to win her back to manipulate her. She then closes off even more. When you're over-explaining logically, that's like you're trying to reason with someone who cannot be reasoned with. The thing is, she's only thinking emotionally how to get you out and away from her because, like, let's say the school season is ending, right? And she wants it to be over with. The brain goes through the path of least resistance. So when there's all this pressure on the brain, she's going, her brain is literally having a hard time to make decisions. and be logical, and she's gonna act she's gonna act emotional, okay, and she's has her back against the wall and all this pressure to make a decision. So her brain's gonna pick that path of least resistance and get you out of there. And when there's big events, like end of school, New Year's, holiday season ending, holiday season starting, when there are those life events happening, especially at the end of the school year, any kind of new you, new me, change of season, the brain just wants to go and boom, push that out. And just she's thinking, what is the easiest way to get this away from me? Because she doesn't want to deal with it because there's just so much pressure. Okay. Another common mistake is expecting a timeline. You think, it's been 2 weeks. I've done everything right. Why isn't she softening? But trust doesn't rebuild on a schedule. It rebuilds through repetition without pressure. And if you're constantly checking in to see if it's working, do you see the difference on how I've been? Do you see how I am now? What you're actually doing is putting the focus back on you and not on her safety. That's the difference between for and from. You want from her. You want a reaction from her. That feels needy, not grounded, right? Comes, like I say here, it comes from even a needier place where you aren't grounded in your masculine. And instead, you need a conversational framework to allow her to surrender her feminine to your masculine, okay? Now, you want one more trap to avoid? Going passive. Some men think, okay, I'll just back off and give her space, but that space, if not paired with emotional safety cues, just confirms the old pattern of distance. What she needs isn't withdrawal. She needs consistency without demand, presence without pressure, stability she didn't ask for, but can count on anyways. That's how the filter starts to shift. And when you're trying to prove yourself, okay, you're operating from a frame of shame, fear, and guilt. And that feels more obligatory to her. Like like you have to do this. When women see that as manipulative, when you have to come from a frame of, I want to do this genuine burning desire in you, like how you want her to have genuine burning desire for you, she wants you to feel the same way about doing this for her. And trying to prove yourself is actually a very, very weak frame. Now, what actually works to shift her trust, okay? If words won't work, pressure pushes her away. What does shift the trust filter? Simple. Pattern breaking consistency. That means showing up in your calm, grounded way again and again and again, especially when you're not getting anything back. Especially. Your character is built. She's always watching. She's always watching. I don't care if it's no distance. I don't care if she's told you how much she hates you. I don't care if she's gone cold. She is always watching, like a hawk. Like when guys come to me and they go, Noah, she posted this. Noah, she said that. She's thinking the same thing. As you've probably heard me say it in other videos, I call it the two sides of the different house. You guys are basically doing the same thing from two opposite sides of the house. She's in the backyard, you're in the front yard. When you're arguing, you guys are having all this house in between you, right? When you're doing something, you have all this house in between you to make you think like, oh, I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're doing something different. You guys are doing the same thing, and this is what I can see from a bird's eye view, okay? And so integrity and your character is built when no one else is watching, and she's watching. She's always watching. So you're not doing it to get a reaction or wanting from her. You're doing it to create new emotional patterns she can feel over time. This is what I call emotional layering. Small, consistent moments where you lead with safety, not strategy. Start with predictable micro actions, okay? And then this builds up over time. This is what really creates compound and momentum, and this is what turns things around fast versus turn things around slow, right? That could be something as simple as calm good morning every day, even if she doesn't reply, or following through on something you said without needing her to notice. Okay. Over time, those small wins become emotional proof the old version of you isn't the one running the show anymore. I also call these, and I got this from my mentor, my business mentor, who mainly really helped me with mindset. He calls it farming, planting seeds. These are small little seeds. Some seeds are better than others. Okay. So, like, for instance, the small little good morning text, that doesn't mean too much, right? It is something, but you need something more. You need consistent action. You need your words to back up what you're saying. You need to add it all together and go through this protocol. Okay. And here's the key. She needs to feel like she can predict how you'll show up, even when things are tense. Okay. Because she's going to think you're going down one pattern, but you need to create a whole nother one that shows her difference. Okay. When her nervous system starts to say, okay, he's steady now, the filter begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because her body no longer feels under threat. That's when trust starts to rebuild, not as a decision, but as a felt experience. And once she feels safe again, that's when connection, conversation, and even affection can return naturally. Okay. It's all about consistency, consistency, consistency. Okay. Especially throughout this. I call it weathering the storm, or this too shall pass. Success is rarely ever a straight line. I wish it was. There's ups, there's downs, there's all arounds. And now success can't be a straight line, but your mindset, having the proper system, understanding where she's coming from, understanding how she's developing, why she's doing the way that she's doing things, it's going to tighten up those ups and downs so that you can have more of a consistent straight line to the top. Okay. You're not performing for her approval. You're building the emotional safety she can feel without thinking. So as you go through this, the emotional layering protocol, step one is establishing those micro trust rituals. Same time, same tone, same follow through. That's that action. That's that, not just saying things, not just texting things, but that's all of it. Then you want to, step two is communicate with predictability, safety, and emotional patterns over time. Okay. Step three is interrupt old patterns with calm, grounded presence, not reaction. This is where I said I was going to talk about her thunderstorm. Basically, while women go through all of this, they do what I call is a thunderstorm of emotions, where they kind of let off their emotions. And you have to be that grounded presence that takes on that lightning bolt, just like a lightning rod, and grounds it. Now, if it bounces all around inside of you, you need to work on that, because that is your mindset, or something that we call Man of Steel mindset that's completely off, right? So then you got to let your consistency speak louder than your promises. Okay. This is where actions, right? Your word is everything, but your word is backed by your actions. And then you need to track your wins, but don't ask her to validate them yet. Now, that's important, because when you are seeking her validation, you're not doing this for you. You're not doing this to build yourself up. And you're just doing this for this external thing. And she's going to look at that as weak. A man on his purpose, on his mission, does not need someone there to validate it. He has that solid wherewithal within himself to push forward and continue forward. I call it the train talk. Look, I have my purpose and I have my mission, and I'm going to keep going. Noah is going to keep going towards his purpose and his mission. If you want to jump on and join, beautiful, amazing. If you want to hop off, beautiful, amazing. Right? We had beautiful memories. Okay. But that's not to be like, oh, just leave her. No, that's to show your resolve and your consistency. Your mission is to save your family. You're going to keep going, even if she's like up, down, all around, jumping on, jumping off. You need to keep pushing forward with purpose. Remember, the difference between the 1% of the highly successful men is their action takers. They make decisions quick. They don't sit around and wait for it. They make decisions quick and they go for it. And that is the difference between action takers and dreamers. Now, I want you to meet Mateo. You can also go see his video, especially on our wall of success. Now, what he did, okay, I worked with Mateo, is what we'll call him, right? Protecting his privacy because he asked us to. He's a high-level guy, runs his own business, provides for his family, does all the right things on paper. When his wife pulled away emotionally, he went straight into fix-it mode. He changed his schedule, read every book, even apologized for stuff he didn't fully understand. He did this for years, by the way, just to prove he was serious. But she stayed cold, barely spoke. One night, she said, "I heard your words, but I don't feel anything different." That crushed him. What Mateo didn't realize, what most guys miss, is that change isn't real to her just because it's happening inside of you. It's only real when it's experienced by her. And then if you keep having resets and you keep having setbacks, she's just going to look at things and she's just not going to trust you. And her skepticism is going to be sky high. And so you really have to follow through with the process, okay? In the way you show up. It's everything, without pressure, over time. We coached him through something simple: consistency without commentary. No need for verbal check-ins, no asking, "Did you notice what I did today?" Just quietly stacking safe, stable moments, like bricks, brick by brick. After a few weeks, she said something small but huge: "It feels easier to breathe around you." That was it. The shift had begun, not because Mateo convinced her, but because her body finally started to believe him. That's the emotional layering does. It creates trust she doesn't have to think about. She just feels. And once that happens, everything changes, okay? If this message hits home, and I really want you to realize how powerful all of this is. So if this message hits home, if you're changing and you're frustrated, but she still just can't feel it, it's not because you're failing. It's because the emotional evidence hasn't stacked up enough for her to believe it yet. Real changes take more than effort, take strategy, structure, consistency. She can feel without you ever saying a word. That's exactly what we do over here at The Heroic Husband. We give you a proven roadmap to rebuild trust, reconnect emotionally, and restore safety she's starving for. You don't need to keep guessing, over-apologizing, or hoping space will fix it. You need a system that works, one that's already helped men in worse spots than you turn things around. So here's your next move. Book a free clarity call with our team or grab the Heroic Husband book using the links down below. Because the clock is ticking and the version of you she can trust is just a few decisions away.